What do you feel like doing at the moment? You should follow your heart. Do what your heart tells you to do. Well, how do I know if it's an irrational feeling talking or my heart? What is feelings? What is emotions? Can you tell me? Can anybody tell me exactly what those are? You know, I read a lot of books, like hundreds, and I didn't get a clear definition of what an emotion is. But I did learn that emotions do not come from our environment. It doesn't come from the situation we're in. It comes from our interpretation of the situation we're in, right? And that's one of the first steps in personal development, that we realize that things are not the way we thought they were. And just because we feel angry about something doesn't mean that there's actually something to be angry about. And it doesn't mean that we couldn't feel in another way about what is going on. You know, other people feel differently about the same situation, and so could we, right? That thing, that switch, is something that is very essential to the first steps of personal development. But then, what is an emotion actually? And I couldn't find an explanation to that. I still haven't found it. So I had to come up with it myself because I needed it. I need to know what is going on, right? And I hope you do too, otherwise you wouldn't be watching these videos. So an emotion, we say, follow your heart and, do whatever you feel like and these things, and we don't know what we're talking about. But an emotion is a strategy. It wants something. And we have to get that an emotion is not a reflection of your thoughts or a reflection of the situation you're in. And just because you feel like something or feel in a particular way does not mean in any way that that emotion speaks the truth about anything. It only speaks the truth about what you want, because an emotion is a strategy. And please stick with me here, even though you might feel a little provoked to say, hey, but an emotion wants something, and you always know what it wants, because when you're in that state, when you're angry, you know exactly what you feel like doing. And you can look at the end of that and say, what is going to come from that when I feel angry? If I do that, okay, people will step away and they'll give me my space and they won't do that thing anymore. So they'll stop that, right? So that's the end of the strategy. That's what it wants, right? And that's when it dawned on me when I was studying the flight and fight response. Or the flight or fight? So when you're in nature, right, you're sitting there around a campfire, or you're walking in the woods, and you're quite calm inside, and the birds are, singing, and everything is okay. Suddenly a tiger, shows itself in the bushes, and you go, panic arises. And how does that feel when panic, like walking down the street, and suddenly you're afraid that you were just about to be run over by a car, or even worse, your kid is about to step out in the road. You go, panic, and it happens like boom before you even know it, right? And what is that? What does that emotion want? Well, what happens is you become stronger. You physically become stronger. Your eyesight improves dramatically, so you see better. You run faster. And if you're in a fight, you can't feel as much as you would without the panic inside of you, because it's a hormone that squirts inside your bloodstream, and it changes the whole state of the body so you can deal with the situation. Meaning the emotion, the hormones, the chemicals, which is the emotion that you feel, is actually aimed at enabling you to do something. It's a strategy. Oh, that's a bogus, Claus. So you're saying love is a strategy. No, it's not. Right? It's much more poetic than that. It's a reflection of something beautiful, something deep. Right? It might be, but it's also a strategy. Just think about, what do you want to do? Let's test this, right? What do you want to do when you fall in love? What do you want to do all the time, preferably? Right? That's number 2 on the survival list. First, you want to survive, and then you want to reproduce. And what do you want to do when you're in love all the time? You want to do this all the time, right? So it's reproduction. It's not as simple as that. It's as simple as that. That's why that emotion is so intense. Falling in love is so intense. It's because it's about not survival, but the second stage, reproduction, right? Making your genes stick in this world. It's a strategy. I'm sorry to bring it down to such a practical, boring level. So what is love then, Claus? We know that we fall in love and then gradually it becomes something else. Is that also a strategy? Well, what does it do? What does that do? What does that love do? Just think about what is the result of that love to figure out what strategy it is. Well, we stick together, right? Okay, let's test that one. You got no claws. You can't fight wild animals. You can't run very fast. A small dog can outrun you. You don't have any fur. The only advantage you have, and the reason why you are, the human species have taken over this planet, is because we're a very intelligent pack animal. We stick together. And sticking together, what is the main strategy for sticking together? It's love. It's a hormone in your body that makes you want to stay with the people you identify with. That's it. So love between two people, like a man and a woman, or, people with kids, right? What is that then? Romantic love. Well, after the falling in love and the reproducing, kids appear. Now somebody needs to go get some food for them, and somebody needs to take care of them as that happens. So it all fits together very well, wouldn't you agree? What is anger? Right? You get angry when we say that, my borders has been crossed. This is you're violating my private space, or somebody is doing something they shouldn't have done. They've broken the rules, right? And then you get angry. What is that? What do you feel like doing when anger happens? You feel like starting a war, basically. You feel like pushing people away because all the other things didn't work. You were friendly, you were nice to them, you did all the right things, you adhered to all the rules that we created, and then somebody broke the rules and they shouldn't, and now I'm going to put them in their place. With anger, it's a strategy, right? The only problem with anger is it can be pretty destructive because emotions are simple strategies. They are the original strategies. Animals have them as well. We don't say they do, but they do. That's exactly what they have. They have emotions. No, because they can't, there's nobody in there. They can't think. Is it thinking? Is the cat thinking? Does it have emotions? It does have emotions, but there's no cat person in there thinking, oh, I'm so sad, right? It doesn't, but it has the same hormonal, it's a body, it's a mammal. It has to run faster. It has to fight. You see it. You see all the emotions happening. But it's not as complex because there's not that extra layer of abstract thought. There's no frontal lobes that can go, oh, I'm so sad. Or I'm so angry. I shouldn't be angry. The complexity is not there. But they still have the same hormonal chemicals running through their veins that enables them to deal with the day-to-day situations that they are in when they're in nature or whatever, captivity, right? It's the same thing. But we can deal with what is going on. We can take that very basic strategy that an emotion is, that it always wants something, and you can just ask yourself, what does it want? If I follow along with the emotion and do whatever it dictates, what will happen? Okay, that's what it wants. Do I want that really? Animals cannot ask that question, so they cannot be intelligent about their own basic strategy. They just live it out as it is, right? If we live it out as it is, it's sometimes pretty good, sometimes not so good, right? There are positive emotions that we want to not react to, and there are negative ones that we don't want to react to, at least not to their full extent, right? That's what part of being civilized and human means. But when we know it's a strategy, we also know that it does not speak the truth. It's a reflection of what goes on in our world, how we think about it, how we interpret what goes on. But it's not the truth at any point, not the positive emotions. Oh, let's take a final one, happiness. Most people, oh, that cannot be, that's not a strategy, Klaus, happiness. That's really a reflection of, the human state or whatever. Of course it's a strategy. If one emotion is a strategy, they're all strategies, right? Because everything that exists in and without it has a point, right? Everything exists for a reason, right? And so does happiness. If you go back to the previous video where we talked about the 3 different states you can live in, what is happiness? It's what occurs when you're not recuperating, which is the middle state, and you're not in survival, which is the basic state we're trying to get away from. It's what occurs when you have food enough, when everything is all right, when you're in creative mode, when you're in growth mode, then happiness comes along and makes you expand your reality. And and be creative, build a better house, a better place to live, improve stuff around you. The building mode that we can do, the learning mode that we can get in. That's happiness. That's it's not a reward for anything. It's just an enabler. It's a strategy. What do you want to do when you're happy, right? You want to build, that spreads to other people. So they build up their resources. So when survival hits, when winter comes, when the lion pops out of the bushes again, then you can deal with it in a better way next time, because you've been building in peacetime. Think about it, and then process your emotions like this and evaluate when you think about it. What did that emotion want? If I followed through on it, what would happen? Is that really what I want? No, but that's what the lower parts of the brain, how they wanted to solve it. How do I want to solve it? Right? What result do I really want? And to what extent can that emotion help me or hurt me? That's an intelligent way of thinking about them, but you can only do that when you know what an emotion is. And we stop all the blah blah and all the weak words about, and then we can be poetic on top of that, right? And write love poems and whatever, knowing that practically it's a strategy.